right, let's get this thing started. I think is kind of crucial. Hi, chat room, or anybody who jumps in here at any given time. Oh, look at this. You got in there first. You got notifications. It's always a good thing. We'll get even better at this as time goes on. But this is kind of my first foray into the. Hi, Julie. Thanks, EO. Thanks for all the birthday wishes. Every year I have this sort of fantasy that I'll be able to thank everybody personally, and that never happens. But I will say that there's a lot of it's a good feeling. It is yeah, it's pretty awesome. Thank you, Ginger. Thanks, everybody. So I've been talking about how I do my goals for the year on my birthday for quite a while now, and I really never got around to explaining kind of the process by which I do it, and I get a lot of questions about it personally, like email to me. Whenever I mention it on the radio show or I mention it on Twitter or any of that stuff, I get this, yes, and today is also my mother's birthday, so that factors into this. That definitely factors into, how I came up with doing this in the first place. Okay, so initially, the idea is I like everybody else did my goals around New Year's. Some people do it when they have just read a book or they just feel like their life is collapsing, so they need to regroup and all that kind of stuff. And so that's the fairly random version of it, right? By the way, is the sound okay for everybody? Sound and video is cool. Let me know. So I started doing mine years ago. As a key factor in how wonderfully self-involved I can be. I started doing this as basically a way to personalize New Year's resolutions, okay? And it sort of was an epiphany. I don't know that I think it'd been building over a few, let's see, yeah, video is a bit weird, but okay. Hopefully it's okay. Yeah. All right, we'll make it better. If I have to, I'll reshoot this as a video and upload it so that everybody has it. But I wanted to do this kind of freeform with you guys. I've only got a half hour, and then FaceTiming with my boy from my birthday because he's with his mom's today. Let's see. Well, that's awesome, Victoria. I'm glad you're doing this. It's a great way to do it. Video is crazy. Okay, sorry about that. How do you mean crazy? Is it spotty? Is it digitizing? It seems to settle out a little bit. But we'll keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully, it won't be too bad. There you go. All right. It might take a moment just for it to get together. So it's just part of it. Okay. So initially, why do your goal setting, your New Year's resolutions on your birthday? Why do it? Okay, so here's my main reasons. These are okay. I even wrote these down for you. One, it's your new year. That's the big one. This is your new year, okay? So everybody else can have their New Year's at January 31st or Yom Kippur or whenever they're doing it, or Chinese New Year, doesn't matter. You can also do this stuff. But in essence, the big one is it's your new year. The second one is you get the jump on everybody. That you start in on your practice and every little chunking bit of what your goal is and getting at it, going to the gym, doing those kind of things. You get to do that before everybody else. You've got to, whenever your birthday is, sometimes it's May, so you got a big leap on next year's goals on everybody. The other big one is the gym is less crowded. That's the one big complaint that has to do with, everybody getting their new goals and going, I'm going to lose weight this year, or I'm going to gain muscle, or I'm going to work out, or I'm going to get my diet and exercise together and all that kind of stuff. They're going to, everybody jumps on that in January. The first 2 weeks of January at the gym is a nightmare. Anybody who goes to a gym regularly hates it. It's the most aggravating part of the entire thing. And so, ultimately, I keep looking at the encoder to see if it's kicking in or whatever, but hopefully the video is fairly normal. Okay, so the gym is less crowded in the rest of the year. After the first 3 weeks of January, everybody goes home. And if you go to the gym regularly in January, you hate all those people because they're just trying it on like a hat. And if my birthday's in September, so when I re-up my time to go to the gym and all that kind of stuff, I've already been doing it for 3 months. So, in best case scenario, I've got a system down by the time January comes around and I know I'm hitting my points. If not, if it sucks and I've ditched out, at least I'm not annoying the people at the gym is the idea. So, yeah. So that's the other one. And here's the other one. This is the last one. You can still have one. You can still have a New Year's resolution. You always have. It's still glitching. Yeah, I am definitely a Libra. I'm a Libra in every sense of the word. So you can still have a New Year's resolution, and in many ways, instead of doing like 10 of them, like everybody else does, are doing their goal setting. If they indeed do that, some people just have one thing, like it Lent for the year, as it were. I have a feeling why the internet is ditching out. I think Ethan's gaming. Ethan, do you have like every computer on at the same time? I have no. Ethan, get off the computer. All right, I'm just kidding. All right. Are you on every computer at the same time right now? Okay, thanks. I'm just kidding with you, actually. You're fine. He checked in with me. Okay, so the we're good. I was just checking on because I'm getting spotty internet, so I'm assuming that's why. Okay, so but we're all updating to OS 12, so it could also be that. It doesn't matter. Anyways, so the point is, Ethan's definitely on the internet. I am very rainbowy. It's lovely. So the next part of it is, and this became an important thing for me, because the fact that I was, my birthday's in September, and the school year always started around September, and I didn't know sometimes my birthday would be, right as school had started, if it started late, and, I'd be like a month younger than everybody else. I'd be a year younger for a month of everybody. And so it affected how I look at time. And this was probably one of the most crucial reasons why this happens, okay? Is that people look at time differently. Time, for a lot of people, they either when you visualize it in your head or you imagine the flow of time, a lot of times people can picture like a straight road. I don't know. Everybody does it differently. And I'm curious, chat room, if this makes sense to you guys, what do you visualize when you visualize the next year? If a picture comes up of what months on a calendar look like, or do your weeks, mine don't go by in blocks like a regular calendar. It just doesn't work that way. So mine is, oddly enough, and I think this had to do with something like just because my school year started right around my birthday, time looks like a relay race to me. So when I picture my next year, my birthday's right around here, and then I start doing what I'm doing, and then I usually have quarterly goals. It's not to scale, obviously, in life. This section of these 3 months are not that much longer than the others. Although when you're in high school, it can seem that way. Does that make sense? So every time when I imagine what will I be doing in 6 months, what will I be doing in in 9 months, and what's happening in August of next year, this is just naturally how I sort of visualize it. It's more 3D than this, but you get the idea. Is that I go, in June around next year, or closer to August around here, that's what I'll be doing. Or I want to do this by midway next year. By 6 months from my birthday, I need to do this. Okay, so I picture time in a relay race track. And then if I were to draw it horizontally, it would be like this, each year going up like that. So it's just, there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's just literally how my brain processes the timescape when I'm thinking about stuff. Okay, so that's important in a weird way, because everybody pictures time differently. And if somebody's laying out what you should accomplish over the course of your your year, that matters. How you see your time, how it actually does it. So I actually picture my days forward and all that kind of stuff. Some people are kinesthetic, some people are auditory. It's a different thing for them. But I've always done that. And Ginger's in the chat room. She's saying, yeah, I've never really pictured time, actually. You do when you visualize where your appointments in the future, even if it's next week or something like that. It's just how far out you do it. And I do it in an entire year. Like, I have always just pictured it in terms of sort of the relay race school year kind of analogy. It just always is factored in. And so every year, so I do big goal setting things like every couple of years, like a big gathering of ideas and what I want to accomplish and all that kind of stuff. I do a big, what's my big 10-year, 20-year goal kind of thing. And I recommend it if you don't. And look at that, Ginger sold a book today. See, goals actually do come true. That's great. And so when you're doing the kind of layout for what you do, the main thing is that you've got all your areas covered, essentially. Okay, you've got to goal yourself out, because if it's not added to that, it'll just be left out, or it'll be swamped by the other stuff. Now, if you believe the do one thing people, that's all you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to pick one thing and nail it all year long. Well, that's that theory, the one thing, do the one thing, all that stuff is absurd. It's like for single Adderall game coders who don't have an outside life, or if they do have an outside life, it's on autopilot and requires no maintenance. But when you have a child or two in some cases, and you have a significant other you want to spend time with, and you've got work that's not at a distinct place all the time, especially if you're trying to level up. This is the thing, when you're trying to go from, I've got a steady job, this is what I do all the time, but my goal is up here, I want to get out of here eventually, and that means late nights, early mornings, and factoring that stuff in. That's what I would call opportunistic goals. I'll talk about that in a second. But you've got to categorize sort of what's important for you. And in this case, you can name them whatever you want. But my I guess these technically would be PD instead of that. My kind of goals, this thing's moving along, right? Okay, so if you're doing a big categorical goals thing, then by all means do one of the Tony Robbins ones. I like that very much. Brian Tracy is, I'll get to that in a second too, the Goals Wizard stuff. It's great. But in terms of your day-to-day life, basically for the year, the home, work, personal development, and opportunistic goals are kind of the main ones that I use for the year, okay? So if you want to try that, it's just, home is anything that has to do with your living space and your family and friends gathering stuff, the home of your life, the actual feeling of having a home, having connecting with your friends and all that kind of stuff. If you want to go out more, if you want to be more social, if you want to just tidy up your place, if you want to get rid of that carpet you hate and replace it with something else, all that stuff falls under the home one. The work one, some people separate their work and financial stuff. I don't. I think they're too closely tied. I'll recommend some books and some websites at the end of this. I've only got 15 minutes more of this, so because I'm FaceTiming at 4. So personal development goals are like learn a language, get over a fear of something, everything from becoming, in my case, like becoming a pilot or swimming with sharks, whatever you want to do. Like that kind of fun stuff, fly in a squirrel suit, whatever you want to do. And then the opportunistic goals. Now, this is something that I've never heard anybody else do, but I have increasingly, because of the nature of the work that I do, and Ginger, who's a writer, and and other people who might be in this, musicians, certainly anybody who's in a creative space or is doesn't have a job that's based, like shoot, plumbers could actually work for this. When you have regular contracts that you work for, you have some regular normal work, but what you're looking for is that opportunity to jump, to level up to one step forward. So like the example I would give is when I was on Queer as Folk, I wanted to direct, but I didn't feel like it was, I felt like it would be weird with that group of actors to do it a little bit. And so I shied away from it. And I think that was a mistake looking back, but what are you going to do? So, when I got to Lab Rats, knowing that this was a Disney show, knowing it was going to run for a few years, they're pretty consistent with this. I decided I'm going to direct. If it's the last episode of the entire run, I'm going to do it. So I looked for every opportunity to make that happen. And so one of the areas where like people, it gets almost depressing and kind of muted is when people do their 10 and 20-year goals, and it just seems like you're pushing them out into the distance. And you're like the stuff you're not, if you do any goal setting thing, they'll say, what do you want to do this year? What do you want to do within 3 years, 5 years? Anything beyond that seems like madness or magic to me. It's valuable to do, but it's almost like rocking chair dreams. It's just too, it just seems so far away to me. Now I do it when I'm doing those kind of things, right? But I don't lose sight of, I don't lose, I don't have as big a grip on them as my day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year, in that term. So what I do is I call those opportunistic goals. I set them as what I want to have happen. This is what in 10 years, 20 years, what I want to do. But I don't label them as such. I label them as opportunistic goals or opportunity goals, meaning that if something goes, oh, wow, suddenly that door opened. That was one of my 10, 20-year dreams. Let's, there is an opening and a possibility here. So I'm going to divert energy and focus to that. So there you go. So now, the other thing that's sort of primary to this, and I hope this is all making sense to you guys. Is this, you don't consider that part of career job. Which part? I'm not sure what you mean. Maybe 10 minutes and you don't end up late to face it. Yes, this is true, Kathy. Very smart. So then I have to, there's one crucial piece that I've heard for a while, and maybe it factored into why I do my, why I think that, why I think of those in terms of opportunistic goals. Is there was a phrase, and I guess this is one of the ones you have to write down. And it seems counterintuitive. My handwriting on this thing is it bounces. So this was a phrase, and I don't even know where I first heard it, but it's been magic for any of the places where I've actually made progress. And work with me on this one. My handwriting's crap on this, but the trick to getting yourself motivated and staying on track and staying at it is right here. Be impatient with your long-term goals. Be impatient with your long-term goals and be patient with your short-term goals. And the easiest example of this is if you are trying to build your body, lose weight, take care of your nutrition, all that kind of stuff, fix any kind of stuff like that. The only way you will do a massive change that's worth a damn that sticks is through daily, bit by bit presence in making the daily activities that will lead to that good, the bricklaying of it. So the bricklaying, you have to be very patient. You can't, if you're building a wall and you want, it to stand the test of time, you don't go, oh man, I got to stack these bricks as fast as possible. You do each one as consciously as you can and focus on it in that moment. Be very patient with the placing of them because long term the wall will stay up. This one was a big turning point for me. I couldn't wrap my head around it almost the first time I heard it because it seemed so bizarre. Be impatient with your long-term goals and be patient with your short-term goals. That is so crucial because it will. What matters in any major change you're trying to make, is that day-to-day chipping away at it. Now, what am I doing this year, for example? Like, I have areas where I've wanted to improve my entire life, and I've just been stalled out in it, or I've been way too busy with other stuff. I have a life that no one would argue. I have a lot that I can do at any given time, but will it move you forward? Will it level you up, right? And so I have categorized what I call my GIST system. Get your shit together. Okay? This is what I call the GIST system. Get your shit together. The idea behind this is that you just get the gist of it. There's so much focus on, like, am I doing this wrong? Am I failing at learning? Am I failing at, achieving because I'm so scared of, especially if something's new. Am I on the right diet to lose weight? Am I on the right diet to gain muscle? Am I on the right, am I practicing, a proper technique when I'm playing guitar, that will long-term help me or whatever. People get so caught up in doing it wrong that they never just get on the bus and start learning, in that regard. So I use the GIST system. Just get the gist of it. Whatever you want to learn right away, just start gathering it as quickly as possible. Pick up the guitar and flump around on it for a little while if that's what you want to do. And then start refining it over time with yourself. Same thing with keyboard or learning a foreign language or whatever. Just relax into the learning. You're not doing it wrong, you're doing it. And that's super important. And everybody kind of skips that part of it. So I have barreled down in my GIST system 4 areas where I'm trying to improve. And what I do is timed exercises within that time. So real quick, 2 hours a day for just leveling yourself up. Okay. Half hour of what I do is 200 push-ups and 200 crunches a day now. And I've been doing that for a couple of weeks, but I'm extending it. Basically, I'm leading up to that, which also, by the way, if you're setting goals for yourself and having the birthday idea allows you to set a date in the future, right? That you are, there is, your birthday's coming up, so you can prep all the stuff you need before it happens. The output destination has major performance issues. I don't know what's wrong with it. But then it comes back. It's very fluffy. I don't know. It goes back and forth, the video on this one. The buffer does not like it. I'm not quite sure why. Okay, so sorry if the video is weird. Okay, hold on one second. I will try and fix this at another time, but I will upload this again. I've only got 5 minutes left. So real quick. So 30 minutes of guitar, 30 minutes of working out. 30 minutes of practicing my Chinese and 30 minutes of memorization, which is what I have to do for my role in my Masonic Lodge. So I have to memorize 196 pages worth of stuff over the course of my being a Mason, and I've decided to do it in the next year. I'm going to memorize all of it instead of waiting and piecing it out over the years and hoping I will get around to it. I'm going to, before it is necessary, I will absorb it all. So I have 192 pages to memorize to be able to just recite by rote to do by my birthday next year. I really, sit-ups is not honest. I do crunches instead, but that's just because, it's better for your back. I got to go real quick. I'm sorry this has been glitchy. I will jump on and do it again in case you missed anything. Anybody can tweet me at Hal Sparks, and of course you can, write me at the email address that you see on your screen. And of course we have the show every week, on Saturdays. So you guys are awesome. And I will see you next time. I hope this helped. And thank you for all the birthday wishes. And again, I'm open to any questions you guys have on it, and I will explain it, a little more in depth at another time. Gotta go so I can go see my boy. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. That's what I say.